Picture this. You're sitting in your office, feeling pretty good about things. The year is 1999. The stock market is absolutely soaring, and your company, well, you're on top of the world. Then the phone rings. On the other end of the line is an offer from a young college student with a small research project. He's offering you the chance to buy his technology. It's an offer to buy the future. It's an offer to buy Google.
And the price tag for all of this? A mere $750,000. I mean, that is an absolute pittance for a massive company like yours. You look at the numbers, you think about your current success and how untouchable you feel, and you refuse. Yes, you refuse. You literally say no to buying Google.
Now, obviously, we all know that Google is worth trillions today. It completely dominates the internet, our phones, basically our daily lives. So sitting in that chair, staring at that impossibly low price tag, you have to wonder, how did this happen? How did someone hold the ultimate golden ticket and just toss it in the trash? Well, George Bell did it. He was running Excite at the time. In this explainer, we're going to break down the exact anatomy of what is widely considered the worst single business decision in modern history.
Section 1. Goliath meets David, 1999.
Let's really look at the sheer contrast between these two companies back then. The man in the CEO chair was George Bell, and Excite was an undisputed internet giant. Literally every new user started there. Excite was the digital gateway to the world. Its revenue exceeded $150 million annually. The stock market adored it. The stock soared, everyone applauded, and honestly, you felt invincible running Excite. And then Larry Page came along. Page and Sergey Brin were just two guys in a garage with a search engine they'd weirdly named Backrub. Google was just a small research project. Zero revenue, zero users, no ads, no profits. Just a smart, automated machine algorithm. And here is where the financial context gets really fascinating. It's not like Excite was afraid to spend money buying search engines. In 1996 alone, they bought Magellan for $18 million, and they snagged WebCrawler from AOL for $12.3 million. They were casually dropping tens of millions of dollars on human-powered directories. So you'd think spending a tiny fraction of that on a couple of Stanford kids wouldn't be a big deal, right?
Section 2. The Search Engine Bake-Off. Testing the tech.
So, venture capitalist Vinod Khosla sets up this fateful meeting between Bell, Page, and Brin. They sit down in Bell's office, fire up two windows, and do a literal side-by-side technological test. They type in the word internet, and the results, unbelievably telling. Excite search results pulled up these random Chinese pages where the English word internet had just been aggressively stuffed in. Basically what we'd call black hat SEO today. It was a total mess. Google, on the other hand, its automated machine completely crushed it. Google returned clean, helpful web pages that actually explained how to use a web browser. It was faster, cleaner, and undeniably better. But instead of being thrilled, George Bell looks at this superior technology and, according to the sources, he gets irritated. You see, Excite relied on human evidence. Their employees manually categorized websites. Google used an automated machine. Tech author Stephen Levy recounts that Bell looked at the numbers and essentially laughed, allegedly thinking, "It's too good. People will find what they want and leave." He looked at this brilliant machine and basically said, "This is nonsense. Humans are better than machines."
Okay, to really grasp this, we have to understand the core business logic of the 1990s. It was all about this metric called portal stickiness. Excite's entire ad revenue model relied entirely on keeping users trapped inside their portal. The more time you spent endlessly clicking around their messy, human-curated pages, the more ads you saw and the more money Excite made. So if a search engine worked perfectly and instantly sent you away to your actual destination, that directly threatened their bottom line. Bell wasn't worried that Google was bad. He was absolutely terrified because Google was too good.
Now, to be completely fair to the source material here, George Bell completely disputes that whole stickiness narrative. He calls it baloney. According to Bell himself, the real reason he walked away was because Larry Page was driving an impossibly hard bargain. Bell claims Page demanded a complete technological takeover, telling him, if we come to work for Excite, you need to rip out all the Excite technology and replace it with Google Search. For Bell, a guy with hundreds of engineers who were super proud of their own tech, this was just too massive of a cultural risk. He couldn't stomach ripping out his company's entire foundation for a student project.
Section 3. The Fateful Rejection. Saying no.
Despite that massive culture clash, Khosla keeps negotiating. Page makes his offer. The initial asking price, $1 million in cash. Bell says no. Months later, Page comes back with a new offer. The price is lower. Khosla talks the duo down to an absolute steal, Just $750,000 in cash, plus 1% of Excite. For a company of Excite's size, worth billions, this was basically free.
But Bell refuses again. Not once, but twice. You can almost imagine the arrogance in that room. He thought he could see into the future, but he didn't know it. He delivers a sharp, brutal no.
Section 4. The Fall of Excite. Catastrophic Fallout.
Now you know the truth. And it illustrates perfectly how fast the tech world punishes hubris. Check out this timeline. In 1999, right around that Google meeting, Excite was flying high. They merged with At Home Networks in a deal valued at $6.5 billion. At one point, their market value hit an insane $35 billion. But then, the dot-com bubble bursts, users get fed up with bad search results. By 2001, Excite completely collapses. They file for bankruptcy. The stock plummets from $80 down to literally a single cent. The company sells itself for less than Google's offer. Bell leaves with nothing. And contrast that complete collapse with what Larry Page is doing in that exact same year. In 2001, while Excite is filing for bankruptcy, Google is processing 100 million searches a day. Page is building his empire. They raised $25 million in venture funding, ironically from some of the same guys who tried to get Excite to buy them. But more importantly, Google figured out the piece of the puzzle Excite couldn't: how to actually monetize search without relying on trapping users. They roll out AdSense, and boom, they start printing money.
Which brings us to this staggering number today: $2 trillion. That is the current market valuation hovering around Google's parent company. $2 trillion. By clinging to the past, Excite essentially killed their own future, throwing away what is undoubtedly the most lucrative missed acquisition in the history of capitalism.
Section 5. Success blinds the future.
Let's slow down for a second, because the psychological lesson here is actually pretty haunting. George Bell didn't fail because he wasn't smart. He failed because he fell into the innovator's dilemma. You see this pattern repeating itself over and over. Every leader is afraid to change their success. Excite's trap was constantly asking, does this threaten what we currently have? They wanted to protect their portal stickiness. Google's vision was asking, does this define what comes next? Bell clung to the past and killed the future. The lesson is painful. Success absolutely blinds you.
Back in 1999, you had two choices. One would completely change history, and one led straight to bankruptcy. You chose the wrong one. Now, the question that really haunts you is this: if the future walked into your office right now, looking small, unproven, and entirely different from what currently makes you money, what would you say no to today?